trying to remember so you'll remember about in March of this year. Well, I went on the internet and I started to research this, and you remember that in March of this year there was a big dispute over well, first of all, then the President Attorney General said, oh, we're going to try him. Obama's Attorney General, this Holder guy, said, we're going to try him. Then what happens? Up pops the former one of the former 3 directors of PNAC, William Kristol, in an organization with Dick Cheney's daughter, Elizabeth Cheney, and another individual, Deborah Burlingame, in an organization that's a successor organization of PNAC. And so they put out a bunch of ads and a bunch of PR saying that, that number one, first of all, you should not even have a hearing as to any of these people who are accused of this 9/11 crime. They're not saying you shouldn't charge them. The first thing they did was say you can't even have a hearing for those individuals as to whether they should be held after the United States federal court system got some law out saying they had to have a habeas corpus hearing. So that's the first thing they did. Then when Holder says, well, we're going to try him, then that big furor started about, well, we can't try him in New York City because the poor people in New York City, their sensibilities would be so offended. Right? We can't do that. You can't try someone for murder. And so we can't try him for that reason. So then Obama says, fine, we'll close down Gitmo, we'll buy a prison in the Midwest somewhere. So then the Republican Party, I've got an article here, they put a stop to that. Let me find that article. And the spokesman for the Republican Party at this point is Peter T. King. They are they're working to stop. I can't remember if it's a funding dispute. I've got it in here, but Obama wanted to try him in the civil court. So then this organization, Elizabeth Cheney is a part, William Kristol, this Burlingame gal, they lead this public cry that no, we should try him in the military justice system, not in the American criminal justice system. Now, let me tell you why this is important. Okay, if you Google, and I love to tell people this because then they can say, well, maybe this speaker, Mike Shoen, is lying, but I can go check it out on the internet. So listen to this. Google 1993, next word WTC, third word Salem, like Salem, Oregon, or Salem, Massachusetts. 1993, WTC, Salem. And what you'll find, and who knows where I'm leading to? You know that.
Yeah, FBI. No.
Yeah, the FBI. Okay, so if you Google that, you could go through a lot of websites, but what you'll find is that there was a guy named Salim, who was a double agent for the FBI in connection with the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. So when the defense attorney and those guys who were accused of that bombing were charged in the American criminal justice system, which has wherein certainly a defendant accused of a capital murder crime has the right to do what's called discovery, to get information from his accusers and from other organizations that might have something to help him in his defense. So what they did was the attorneys who were representing, I think, the blind sheik, they ended up getting from the FBI, and the FBI didn't know about this, from what I've read, a bunch of cassette tapes that this guy Salim had made, who was a double agent. He was an Egyptian double agent working for the FBI, in which he says to his FBI handler, before the bomb goes off, he says, shouldn't we substitute in inert material for some of the explosives? Because these guys, you remember, yeah, because these guys are really going to do it. They're really going to kill somebody. And the FBI guy says, no, don't do that, okay? Then the bomb explodes, 6 people are killed, and Salim calls the FBI handler and he's almost crying. He sounds like he's sobbing. He says, you know, some people have died and I'm really upset. The FBI says, don't worry, we'll take care of it. Then they give him $1 million. The FBI at this point pays Salim $1 million, right? Then Salim disappears. Now these tapes, and somehow the defense team got him. So what I'm saying is that, let's say we had a trial of the so-called co-conspirators in 9/11, and you had a defense team that through discovery, they would say, for example, who knows about the $100,000 wired to Mohammed Atta? Right, okay, by the chief of the ISI in Pakistan 4 days before 9/11. Then the chief of ISI comes over the day before 9/11, the day of 9/11, the day after 9/11. He's over in the United States talking with, well, I've got some of the names here. He's talking with the head, a Tenet, George Tenet, the head of the CIA. There's one guy, he's talking with people who are members of the National Security Council. I can't remember all the people.
It's probably General Hancock at the time from Pakistan's ISI. It was also in office while we were just throwing money at the Taliban.
Right, he's the one who wired the money. Right, and his superior, who he says instructed him to do it, was over here. So I'm just throwing that out. That's a for instance. So say if I was a defense attorney for these accused co-conspirators of 9/11, then I would say, by the way, my guy didn't have anything to do with it. He didn't like the United States, and yeah, he had a beard. But let me tell you something. I want your records on the ISI and that $100,000 in these meetings you guys had in September 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then you would open a real hornet's nest.
So this is why you're saying that Quayle is in his literature saying, no, we don't want to try anybody, that's un-American or whatever here. So who is it that's running his campaign doing this?
Well, you got to look at his contributors. They're big money, they're all connected Washington insiders, and they're not just Republicans, they're Democrats as well. I call them publicans and Democrats. Sorry, Pat, but whatever they are, they're not all, but they're these connected people. They're the former head of this, and the former undersecretary of that. They're all these connected Washington insiders. So I don't know, obviously, like I know all the bad press that's out there about Dan Quayle and some website, or Ben Quayle and some website. I don't really care much about that. I'm like Michael here. I really don't care. I care about stuff like this. The fact is, 3 or 4 years ago, Ben Quayle was a young kid out having a good time, and having fun. He had no interest in all of these issues. So somebody else cooked up this bizarre statement that we shouldn't bring the masterminds of 9/11 to the United States or it's not worth doing it. You understand? And I don't know who they are. They're all these creeps, Ernie. So really, that's what I've uncovered. Let me see. Okay, here's another cool part. This is crazy. This stuff is crazy. On the successor organization, the PNAC, what is it called? Americans for Security or something. There's 3 members. One is William Crystal, who, if you don't know about him, look him up. Yeah, he's a bad guy. Elizabeth Cheney, listen, who's one of the people she worked for was, what's his name? When she first started, she worked for Richard Armitage. Yeah, you gotta, Google Richard Armitage, man. He's a bad guy. He goes all the way back to drugs out of Laos and Cambodia and crap. And he's hooked up right there with the Bushes.